What's going on, drummies? It's Arty here. Today is a follow-up video. Today we are going to go more in depth in the judging criteria of L pattern. Now, if you watched my previous video, I kind of gave an overview of the entire L pattern process, the scoring wise, what the judges are looking for, but I didn't really go in depth on each different category because if I did, that video would have probably been maybe around 30 minutes to 45 minutes, almost an hour, because I felt like each individual category of the judging criteria could have pretty much been its own separate video. So I'm going to go briefly over each individual judging criteria today, and if you want additional information, you can go ahead and leave a comment and I will most likely try to respond to it. Now, if you haven't watched my previous video, I'll go ahead and link that video down in the description below. Aw, look, I'm wearing the same shirt. First of all, I would like to mention that the judging criteria that I am describing today falls under the NCBA format of judging. If you want rules for the Southern California style or in the World Drum Majors Association style, please consult their rulebook. I'll go ahead and link those programs in the description below as well. Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, you are judged on 4 different criteria. You are judged on inspection, content, execution, and overall presentation. Overall, your entire score totals out to 100 points. That is the highest score you can get possible. The first criteria for your score is inspection. You are inspected on your overall uniform. You are inspected on essentially the cleanliness of your uniform, how you're presented to the judge. The max score you can get is 5 for this criteria, and usually this starts off with a standing inspection. Before you even compete, before you even step off and start spinning your mace, you have to go through a standing inspection. The judge will do the walk around, will walk around you and essentially be judging you on your uniform. They are judging you on the cleanliness, precision of essentially how you wear your uniform, and is everything presented in inspection order? Are your buttons straight? Is your hat straight? Are there any lints? Did you take care of any lint? Are you standing in a good form? Are you standing in an approved inspection stance? i.e., is your baton straight? Is your mace straight up and down? Is your mace polished also? Are your shoes polished? Basically, everything. If you think that it needs to be removed for you, if you think that it could affect your score like lint and dirt, pretty much you just need to remove it. Now keep in mind, sometimes the judges will not really go over correctly wearing your uniform because all drum major uniforms are different, especially Scottish uniforms. Also, depending on your judge, you might have a judge that's kind of lenient or you might have a judge that's ridiculously harsh. So sometimes with the more lenient judge, you might get the automatic 4, or if you have a few little bits of lint, they might let it go. Whereas there are some really tough judges, Rick Wilson, who will essentially find every little thing wrong with your uniform and mark you down a point. These judges are looking for perfection. And every time a judge will find something wrong with your uniform, that is a minus 0.1 deduction. So you can look, so if you have like little bits of lint on your uniform, you can probably, on an average score, you can probably look to be scoring maybe a 4.9, 4.5. It's very easy to get a 5 inspection. So my recommendation, even though if you don't know if you're having a lenient judge or a very hard judge, err on the side of caution and just clean your uniform because those are easy points to get. The next criteria you are being judged on is content. Basically, this is your flourishing. This is your spinning. So everything that I'm teaching you with the spinning wise in my videos, this covers the content portion of your routine. Now for your content, you can score a maximum score of 35 points. You are also kind of graded. So you have you kind of have a score range. So you have 1 through 4. 1 being the best, 4 being kind of the worst. Now, if you score between 20 through 23, that is a grade of 4. According to the judging criteria, in the grade of 4, the drum major displays little to no variety in the performance. The degree of difficulty is low through a limited number of moves. Routine may contain 1 or 2 simple moves and or ineffective moves. Routine may favor one direction and one side of the body. So in a sense, these are kind of like, if you see a beginner drum major, these are the ones, you know, maybe they have a really limited number of moves. They probably only know how to do a prop spin. They're really not comfortable doing side spins or top plane palm spins. So a lot of their moves are are relegated to maybe the front of the body, basically basic front spins. Next is the grade of 3, and this is a score between 24 through 27. In this grading criteria, the drum major displays some variety using 1 or 2 planes with basic spins. Degree of difficulty is limited, with limited exposure to error, through the use of basic transitions and moves which may be repetitive and or ineffective. Routine may favor one direction and one side of the body. So again, this kind of maybe is a little bit more an improvement from the grade 4 category. So this drum major starts to do a little bit more side spins. They might be doing some side spins, they might be doing some front spins, maybe some top plane spins, but however, their moves are still very limited. They may be doing the same thing over and over and over again, and the judge can see that. They can see very repetitive moves, and they can see that you are only comfortable doing very specific moves. Another thing I want to mention is they mention the criteria of limited exposure to error. So maybe you do some transition, maybe you do a little toss, maybe a single toss from one hand to the other hand, but you don't take risk. You're probably just keeping it safe, which is not bad, but the judges want to see you take risk, which means like tosses, really complicated body wraps. They want to see you essentially perform higher than what your register is. So if you're performing in high school novice, in order to get maybe a higher score, your performance wants to probably reflect a step higher. Next is the grade of 2. This is a score of 28 through 31. A lot of drum majors will place in this category. This basically is the drum major that is meeting the criteria for the judge. They're doing side planes, they're doing front planes, they're doing maybe 45-degree planes, they're maybe doing some back spins, or nothing really complicated, but you can see that they are somewhat experienced, and they're showing some degree of difficulty. In this category, the drum major displays a good level of variety using multiple planes and or unique moves. Degree of difficulty is good, with some exposure to error and effective complex moves and transitions. Routine is built around music in some sections and approaching a high level of ambidexterity and directionality. So in this category, the drum major starts to spin in both directions. I remember in my prop spin video, I made the mention that you need to learn how to spin in both directions, and they asked, is it really necessary to spin in both directions? To that answer, yes, because the judge wants to see directionality and ambidexterity, as they said in the judging criteria. They want to see that they have the competence to spin in both directions, because if you're spinning in one direction the entire time, it's boring. They want to see you switch hands. They want to see you have basically the knowledge or the know-how to actually spin in both directions. Finally, you have the grade of 1. These are your first place spinning drum majors. These drum majors will pretty much be exceeding the highest category. So this is a score of 28 through 31, which is the highest score you can get. In this category, the drum major displays a high level of variety using multiple planes and unique moves. Degree of difficulty is very high, with exposure to error and effective, complex moves and transitions. Routine is integrated with the music and demonstrates a high level of ambidexterity and directionality. So, like I said, these are the drum majors that are essentially exceeding the judges' expectations. They are doing power tosses and they are catching them cleanly. They are doing body wraps that not a lot of people do. I know a lot of drum majors that can do the standard elbow wrap, but can they do the waist wrap, which is a higher level of degree of difficulty, or the between the leg wrap, which is also a higher level of degree of difficulty compared to your standard over the shoulder wrap or or little tiny tosses. Alright, you still with me? Next, we're going to talk about execution. Execution makes up another portion of your score, and this is another 35 points to your score. Execution is basically your overall cleanliness of your routine. So you have your content, which is your spinning, and then you have your execution, which is your overall cleanliness of your routine. How well do you practice your moves? In addition, how well do you maintain your fundamentals? It's one thing to toss a perfect power toss. It's another thing to catch that power toss cleanly. So, consider that two portions of your score. So, when you toss a 6 power toss, that's actually a degree of difficulty that you are exposing in your routine. But if you catch it very, very sloppily, or if you have to take a step out of formation to catch that mace, that actually affects your overall execution. So, like your content, your execution is also graded in 4 categories. 1 being the highest, 4 being the lowest. Now, if you score in the grade of 4, that means you earned a score between 20 through 23. In this grade, the drum major exhibits little to no control and or precision. Angles, planes, freehands, and moves are ineffective and or not accurate. Speed of moves varies wildly. Beating of time is inconsistent and unclear. Moves cause major body controls, such as shoulder, head, and or torso movement. Salute may not be presented in the designated competition area. So, in this category, the drum major is pretty much, for lack of a better term, a hot mess. Yes, they can spin. They can spin a mace, they can probably do tosses, but it's sloppy. As they've mentioned, angles are ineffective. I will make a video next time talking about the magic angle, the 45, 90 degree, and 180 rule. Essentially, you want angles to be consistent, you want your beating of time to be consistent, you want your spinning speed to be consistent, and essentially you want your body posture to be controlled. If you're spinning a mace, but you're getting like all these body movements that is fairly obvious, that's gonna really affect your score. They also mentioned about the salute not being presented in the designated competition area. Maybe this drum major probably didn't salute at all, or this drum major probably saluted in the wrong place. You have a designated area where you are supposed to salute. Maybe they don't know the overall rules of L pattern, so they just kind of go out there and wing it. Next is your grade of 3. This is a score between 24 through 27. In this grade, the drum major exhibits a moderate degree of control and precision. Some angles, planes, freehands, and moves may be placed ineffectively and may not be accurately executed. Speed of moves may be inconsistent. Beating of time may be inconsistent and unclear at times. Moves cause many minor body control problems, shoulder movement and head movement. Salute may not be presented in the designated competition area. Again, this is still, the drum major is kind of a hot mess. They probably have some fundamental issues. They have some spinning speed problems that they have probably fixed, but it's not as bad as the grade 4 category. They also mentioned about freehands. One of the things the drum major judge watches for is, are you able to control your freehands? Many drum majors fall prey to the floating freehand, which is essentially the hand that is, if you're doing a one-handed spin, you have that one hand that is not holding the mace or having contact with the mace or doing anything, that's essentially slack, lazily hanging by your side. Or if you're spinning your mace, you have a free hand that's doing something that's not supposed to be doing. Many drum majors, like I in particular, fall victim to this. So you want to make sure that your free hand is controlled, either at your side or at least doing something. And also, as mentioned previously in the grade 4 category, you want to ensure that you follow the angle rule, which is 90, 45, 180. Next, we move on to the grade 2 category. This is a score of 28 through 31. In this grade, the drum major exhibits a good degree of control and precision. Angles, planes, freehands, and moves are mostly placed effectively and executed with accuracy. Speed of moves is approaching an excellent level of consistency. Beating of time is mostly clear and accurate. Moves may cause 1 or 2 minor body control problems, such as shoulder movement and head movement. Salute is presented in the designated competition area. So a lot of drum majors will place in this category of grade 2. These are the drum majors that, like in the content criteria, are essentially meeting all of the judges' expectations. They have good body control, maybe 1 or 2 little minor body posture movements, maybe they're doing a move that maybe they can't help but move their head. That's something that you really have to watch out for. You have good body control and very good freehand control. Your spinning speed is now approaching a level of consistency. You are able to spin. You are able to maintain a good spinning speed without having moments where you're spinning fast and then spinning slow, spinning fast and spinning slow. Now finally, we have the grade of 1, which is a score of 32 through 35, which is the highest score you can get. These are drum majors that are essentially exceeding the judges' expectations. In this category, the drum major exhibits a high degree of control and precision. Angles, planes, freehands, and moves are placed effectively and executed with high accuracy. Speed of moves is at an excellent level of consistency. Beating of time is accurate and very clear. Moves do not visibly affect body posture. salute is presented in the designated competition area. This criteria, like I said, the drum major is exceeding the judge's expectations. Spinning speed is excellent. You have perfect body posture, or you have a high degree of difficulty that doesn't affect your overall fundamentals. Finally, we have our presentation criteria. Unlike your content and execution, presentation makes up 25 points of your score. Again, you are given a grade between 1 and 4. 1 being the highest, 4 being the lowest. And if you score a grade of 4, you are given a score between 6 and 10. In the grade of 4, the drum major shows little to no confidence, leadership, and/or poise in the performance. Minor problems with chin, eye, shoulder, and back position are evident. Stride may be inconsistent, possibly leading to spacing, phasing, and/or problems within the band block. Presentation is not consistent with the style shown. Absence of leadership may lead to a loss of control of the group. Now, granted, you are not performing with an actual band behind you, but the judge wants to see you exuberate leadership. Now, in the grade of 4, these are, like I said, the nervous drum majors. This kind of puts on the kind of appearance of you don't want to be there. Like maybe your instructor forced you to compete in this competition and you'd rather be probably in the winter guard, or you'd probably rather be in the winter percussion. I mean, it really shows if you are not in with, it really shows when your mind is not really in the game. And as a drum major, especially in parade route, or if you're on the field podium, or if you're competing solo in L pattern, you want to exuberate that leadership as a leader. Next, we have the grade of 2. The grade of 2 is a score between 11 to 15. In the grade of 2, the drum major exhibits a fair level of confidence, leadership, and poise. Chin, eye, back, and shoulder placement may limit confidence and/or be inconsistent. Stride may be inconsistent, possibly leading to spacing problems or phasing problems within the band block. Presentation is not consistent with the style shown. The drum major is lacking presence and leadership. So again, this kind of falls into the grade 1 category. There may be a little bit more improvement, but still your drum major is still kind of slouched a little bit. They look like they don't want to be there. They may be standing up straight and tall. They may have their chin up, their eyes straight, but there's still some timidity in their performance. You can tell that they are nervous. You can tell that this is not really a good day for them to compete. Maybe they might be sick. I don't know. You don't know the consequence. You don't know the circumstances to why they're competing like that. But the judge doesn't care. They want to see you compete to the best of your abilities. Next, we have the grade of 2. This is a score of 16 through 20. In this grade, the drum major demonstrates a good level of confidence, leadership, and poise. Chin and eye position are mostly consistent and back and shoulder placement is appropriate. Stride is mostly maintained through the performance. Presentation is not consistent with the style shown. The drum major is approaching strong presence and leadership. So in this category, the drum major is a lot of drum majors will fall into this category. They have a strong presence, they have strong bearing, but maybe they flinch a little bit when they try to catch their mace or baton. They might be a little nervous, but overall it doesn't really affect their overall performance. Sometimes the judge might nitpick a few little things here and there, but overall they're given the standard performance of a drum major. Finally, we have the grade of 1. This is the highest grade you can get, a score of 21 through 25. In this grade, the drum major demonstrates a high level of confidence, leadership, and poise in the performance. A strong posture is shown through consistent chin and eye position, along with appropriate shoulder and back position. Stride is maintained consistently. Presentation is consistent with the style shown. The drum major exerts strong presence and leadership. So this is the drum major, like I said, that is exceeding the judges' criteria and standards for drum majoring. They have perfect posture, they have perfect stride, they exuberate leadership. The judge can picture, if they have a band behind them, that this band will do anything that this drum major commands. If the drum major will randomly call a left column, the judge can visually picture the band effectively executing that left column perfectly without missing a beat. you can get a maximum score of 100 points. But however, you have the possibility of losing points. As I mentioned in my previous video, you do have penalties, and we're going to go over these penalties in depth. Your first penalty that you can score is a slip. A slip is where you basically lose control of the mace. The mace doesn't have to make contact with the ground, but it's visually obvious that this move was not a part of your routine. You may be spinning the mace and maybe you lose grip of the mace and the mace slips out of your grasp and you have to kind of change your body posture to catch it. Or you may have this great power toss in your routine, but unfortunately maybe the wind catches it and you have to step out of formation to catch your mace. It's basically any move or any type of error that causes you to break bearing to be able to gain control of the mace. And for a slip, that is a -1 point. Next you have a drop. A drop is -3 points. A drop is fairly self-explanatory. A drop is pretty much where you drop your mace, you drop your baton, or the mace overall makes contact with the ground. Some drum majors debate on what is considered either a slip or a drop. Sometimes when you're spinning the mace, you might lose control and maybe the ferrule hits the ground. Some drum mace, sometimes that's considered a drop, but some judges will consider that to be a slip. But like I said, there's kind of a debate on what is considered a slip and a drop. Next you have overtime. Now, in a drum major competition or any competition, be it marching band or field show, you have a maximum time limit, because the band festival, drum major competition, any competition is bound by a very strict schedule because you have other competitors that need to compete, and you also have the judge who is being paid to be there, who's giving time out of his weekend to be there, and they want to meet a strict schedule. So sometimes you might have a musical piece that may be really slow. You might be marching to a slow march, which I really don't recommend. Or you might have this really overly elaborate routine that you do a lot of stuff, but you want to keep in mind that your routine should exceed no more than 4 minutes. A lot of drum majors will not break this time limit, and it's very rare that a drum major will break this time limit because most of the time the only way to break this time limit is if you're marching to a very slow march. Like I said, you have a maximum of 4 minutes to compete, but for every 30 seconds you go overtime, you will get -1 point. So if your routine ends up to be 5 minutes long, you could be looking to a 2-point penalty, because 4 minutes and 30 seconds, that's 1 point penalty. And then 5 minutes, that's another 30 seconds, that's another point penalty. So just keep in mind, when you're choosing your music, when you're making a routine, you want to make sure that it's around 4 minutes, no more than 4 minutes 10 seconds, just keep it around 4 minutes. Next you have out of step. This is a big deduction. Out of step is a -5 point penalty. Out of step kind of coincides with your fundamentals, because when you march, you want to essentially go on autopilot. Your left heel needs to hit the ground on beat 1, and your right heel needs to hit the ground on beat 2, and so on and so forth. You want to go on autopilot when you march. And a lot of times when you're marching, I mean, a lot of drum majors have gone through band camp, have gone through around 4 years of marching band, and it's kind of grilled into them. So you want to make sure that your this really plays into marching fundamentals. If you can't really stay in step, that also plays into your leadership score as well. And it's fairly obvious when you go out of step, because every time when you're marching in L pattern, the judge may come right behind you and actually march right behind you to ensure that you're marching in step, to make sure you're not phasing out of step. It's very easy to phase out of step if you either are not well practiced, or if you can't hear the music. And getting back in step, a lot of drum majors do the little skip to get back in step, and it's very obvious when you do that. It's also very obvious when you phase back in and out of step, because your feet are not hitting the ground on the beat. Finally, you have no salute. It's very rare if a drum major doesn't salute. This is mostly very beginner drum majors who don't know the actual competition zone, or maybe they're just very inexperienced. They didn't know. But no salute, unfortunately, is an automatic DQ, which is disqualification. So if you have the best routine ever, let's say you scored 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 in all categories, but you don't salute. Sorry, you're not getting first place. You're not even scoring as well, because you didn't even bother saluting, which is kind of, 1, disrespectful, and 2, it's kind of required that you give a salute. So just remember, even if you don't know where to salute, just salute, because if you don't salute, I'm sorry, disqualification. So that's it, you guys. Leave me a comment, let me know what you thought about this video. Don't think drum major judges are out there to chew you out on every little thing. They're actually there to help you. They're there to make sure that you know where to improve on. That's what the entire point of drum major judging is about. They want to make sure that you know where you need to improve on. And so for your next performance, you can fix those problems and put on a better show for your next performance. So leave me a comment, let me know what you thought about this video. Go ahead and hit subscribe, it really helps my channel out. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I am at ArtyMacDM on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And as always, guys, keep marching and keep flourishing. I'll catch you guys later. Aw, look, I'm wearing the same shirt.